All right. Well, again, I want to say good morning and welcome to our Antelope Valley stakeholders convening. Again, if you would please sign in the link provided in the chat. Information or resources shared today will be sent to you via our email. This is our agenda for today. We do have a full agenda for you. We will be going through our North Star for First 5 LA. Then we have a presentation by Brigitte Pico and Wilkerson with the Children's Bureau. Then we also have the Catalyst of California State of the Child report that we really think will be informative and necessary for you to hear. Some really great information coming from them. We will then be doing upcoming events for Best Start of AV and things to come from our Best Start AV team. Warm welcome to you for those of you who are viewing us without heat in your office. We are thinking about you. Warm welcome to you. I'm going to turn this over to my director, Sylvia Scott, and she has some information to share with you about our North Star. Sylvia?
Thank you, Darrell. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. As Darrell said, let's stay warm. I know it's really chilly out here, but I wanted to start off with some news that came down at the beginning of November from First 5 LA, who, as you all know, is our funder. And part of their strategic planning is that every few years they're revisiting some of their projects that they have or strategies that they have ongoing. And Best Start is definitely one of them. And this year, what happened was that the Board of Commissioners approved several things about their strategic planning. And again, we use this as guidance for the work that we do in Best Start. And the first of the changes was the North Star. What used to be the original North Star for First 5 LA and Best Start was that by 2028, all children in LA County would enter kindergarten ready to succeed in school and life. The update that has been done as of November is that every child in Los Angeles County will reach their full developmental potential throughout their critical years of prenatal to age 5. And this redefined North Star really grounds the focus on the importance of the prenatal to age 5 window for strengthening connections, building resilience, and closing more disparities. The second area that they made refinements on, and you'll see some of these in this infographic, but the 4 results for children and families were families optimize their child's development, children receive developmental supports and services, and children are safe from abuse, neglect, and other trauma. Children have high quality early learning experiences. So they took all that and they turned it into one overarching system goal, which is that public systems most critical to children's development, prenatal to 5, will advance belonging and justice for communities that experience significant inequities. So they took those 4 and they turned it into just one overall system change goal. The third area that they made a change on was the long-term systems outcomes. It used to be accessible, that the systems that we encounter are accessible, that they provide quality services, that they're aligned to the public and the community, and that they're sustainable. The new set of long-term outcomes have turned into that they're still accessible, right? That the public systems are connected, aligned, and seamless. That they are equitable, that the public systems eliminate systemic biases in mindsets, policies, procedures, and practices. That they are power sharing, that the communities and public systems share power in the development, implementation, improvement of policies, procedures, and practices that impact children and families. And lastly, the financing, that the financing mechanism of public systems are sufficient and incentivize a whole child, a whole family, and that are prevention oriented in their approach. So this new plan basically will help guide and accelerate Best Start in all that we do to make a tangible difference in the lives of children today and tomorrow, and articulates the commitment to making systems more family-centered and child-focused. Through continued collaboration with partners who share our aspirations for children, we will strengthen families and children through policy and practice change and public will building. And we will bring more intentional equity focus on the children and families facing disparities in outcomes and opportunities here in the Antelope Valley. So those are the big changes that we've had. And we will be sharing this information with everybody. We have a breakdown of the strategic planning that First 5 LA has shared. So we will share that with everybody and you'll see the changes in there. Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay, then we can move on, Darrell.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. So oh, you know what? We didn't go through our will. Do you want to still go through that, Sylvia, or no? Okay. So next we have coming up our updates for data and census. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Yeah. And this is our data. Brigitte, Pico, from our city community place-based strategies. So I'm going to turn this over to Brigitte. She's going to come and present some findings. Brigitte, I'm turning this over to you.
Thank you, Darrell.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I would like to share with you the growth of Best Start since 2021. I will be presenting the data of our network activity, membership, and participation growth. Let's get started. Next slide, please. Network membership. The following numbers reflect the 2022 calendar year. Best Start currently has 450 active members in our network. There has been 33 new resident members. There are 106 active organization partners and 50 new organization members. Next slide, please. Based on this chart, I have compared 2021 network membership to 2022. This year, we had an increase of 42% of network participants, a 61% increase in organization partners. There was also a 14% increase in new organization members. The amount of network growth in the last year was significant. Let's continue to look at what other ways we are expanding. Next slide, please. Network participation. There has been an extensive amount of new growth in the Best Start network. In 2021, the majority of our activities consisted of regional and convening meetings. There were a total of 317 participants in 2021. Let's compare 2021 participation to 2022. Next slide, please. In 2022, there were 3 additional activities added to our network, which are the Policy Leadership Academy, Diversity Workshop, and Trauma-Informed Masterclass. Upon comparing last year's network activities chart to 2022, we can observe an increase in not only the activities, but also engagement. We are excited that there has been a huge interest and participation in our new activities from partners and resident members. Next slide, please. Network growth, civic engagement, and number of group activities. The increased number of group activities has increased civic engagement from 2021 by 42%. The 2021 pie chart is showing the 2 major activities, convenings and regional meetings with % of participation. The 2022 pie chart distributes all 5 activities that took place with % of participation. In 2022, there was a 71% increased number of group activities. Best Start will continue to create a movement and authentically engage community members and organizations so their wisdom and lived experience can help develop local solutions to some of the challenges that exist within our community. Next slide, please. Data projects coming in the near future. We will continue to collect data to understand our Antelope Valley community makeup, to create action steps, and therefore have the ability to track outcomes over time. Impact data to build long-term strategy in order to improve and come closer to our mission and vision continuously. With the collective community capacity, C3 survey, the advances will produce more valid, reliable, and practical measures and community capacity building models that will contribute to the theory and practice of community level change. State of the Child Report, a tool to elevate the visibility of the issues community members face in the Best Start Antelope Valley region, and in turn will help strengthen coordination of support, funding, and movement building efforts working to improve child outcomes. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. Darrell?
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Brigitte.
Bridget.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few words. So Brigitte is new to our team and we're really excited to have her with us. And what she just showed was really just a lot of the growth that we've had in this past year. And a lot of it has also been because of you who's here today. You guys have spread the word. You guys have brought other people in. And so I just want to make sure that we are making sure that we let everybody know that we're really thankful for the support and the willingness to join us in this convening and being part of Best Start. Back to you, Darrell.
Awesome. So I want to introduce our next presenter. Yay. Luz Wilkerson, Data Management. She will come and share some more information with you this morning. Luz, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Darrell. Okay, I'm going to follow where kind of where Brigitte left off with and just dig a little deeper into the detail. I'm going to start with a presentation, a very small presentation, talking about what my thing is, partner participation data collection system. I'm nervous, so bear with me. So anyhow, I'm going to start the slide low. So what we want to do is go deeper into exactly what Sylvia was talking about, which is great. That, you know, we see the numbers, we see the growth, but who are they? They're you guys. And it's just been wonderful to see the growth, to see how, and with us, it's excited, you know, to build these systems that capture this information and be able to report it back out to you guys. So I'm going to start here. So this is our place-based initiative for today. The first thing is, how and why does AV Best Start Region 5 collect partner participation? In our aim to understand and address the needs in our communities, AV Best Start Region 5 has developed a variety of work groups, policy leadership academy, quarterly stakeholders convening, as well as special events throughout the year. Groups included are the Antelope Valley meetings, the work groups, Community Heart Academy, diversity workshops, stakeholders convening, policy leadership academy, trauma-informed masterclass, and you also have special events. Data are collected and maintained in our in-house participant database, which then are uploaded to the Power BI data dashboard. This process involves each Best Start network support staff. I mean, it's a small staff, but you know, a lot gets done. So as illustrated in the following chart that we'll see. Now here, this flow chart, this flow chart here, it starts here where like today, you were all asked to sign in, and for everything that we do, any group that is facilitated, special events, we try to capture all the attendees as their information, and there's a process, that, whoever it is that's facilitating it, ask for that information. If they're new to the group, there's a certain process, and they're asked for more information so that they could create that person. And then if it's a new organization, they also need to know that so they could add the organization to the group. So we can really, really be as well informed of who our network is, who they are, who our residents are, how we can identify them, and then showcase them in our output reports. So that's what happens here. When we get down to this third lane, that's actually where I come in, and my big role is I download the data that's been captured and put together by Stephanie and Darrell and Tracy and everybody else who does this group. So I download it and then I upload it back to Power BI. Let me see. And this is a snapshot of the face of the data dashboard that I'm talking about that captures the partner participation. So this is just a snapshot of it. I'm going to stop sharing this right now. Then I'm going to fumble into the other, the real data dashboard, and we'll go there. No. I'm trying to find it, guys. Is it this? No. No, it is this. No, this is the data dash. Sorry, guys, stop sharing. Where is my data dashboard? I can't find it, sorry. Reading routines.
No worries, Lucy, no worries.
Oh my goodness. Inbox. Where did it go? Okay, this is truly, truly, truly embarrassing. Oh my God. There's
I know,
nothing. No, hold on a sec.
yeah, you just had it, so it's there.
Oh, shoot. Give me a minute to open it up again.
Okay, no worries, Luz.
Let me unshare with you. Let me close this.
One of our guests, Demisha, says, Lucy, no rush. It happens to all of us. Take your time.
Thank you, Sylvia. Where is it? Somebody have a joke they can tell while I'm finding it? That might help. Okay. I just can't get it. All right.
I promise that it's worth the wait just because it's some really, really awesome information that she's going to share.
I'm going to use the one that's on my desktop. It's not
Okay.
as nice, but that's, I don't know what happened to the other one. And I can't access it now. All right. All right, so now I'm going to share the actual dashboard. Okay, so this isn't the one that's online, but it's good enough. So this tells you, this dashboard is what we maintain monthly. And right now, what you're looking at right here, we have 3 networks, not just AV. So if I wanted to, and what you will have on your group site will be one that's just filtered for AV. And you see when we click on the network, we select the network, I selected Antelope Valley for the year 2022. That corresponds with the numbers that Brigitte mentioned, the 450 partners and the groups they are engaged in. And if you hover over these are all interactive. It tells you the group, the number of participants, and you could look at different times. You could look at the year before, what groups were going on then, and same thing. You can also sort and filter. There are a variety of things you can do with this. And I'm moving this around. So I'm going to jump over to the next page. It's 5 pages. So if we're looking here, let's scroll all the way up. I'm liking data visuals because you don't have to put a lot of work into having to think about the numbers all the time. But at the same time, we have the detail here because we want to be able to inform you with as much information you think you may need. So I'm going to click here just to Antelope Valley because we are only looking at them right now. Now, we see the totals and we know we're doing good. But I remember one meeting, one woman, one time we were talking about how great we were doing, and she just asked very innocently, and she's a rock star too. And at Para los Niños, she says, I just want to know, where do I fit in that constellation? And that always stuck with me. So anyhow, we can download here by using these little arrows. You can drill up and down where you can see in AV Best Start, here's your groups. And these are the months that are represented on these charts, but you can drill down further even to see what organizations are attending these groups. And further still, who are these players? Who are the actual attendees? You know, and you can scroll through, look for your own organization, see who's attended what, you know, and how that activity is being captured and then being represented here. And yeah, Catalyst is coming up. You have a lot of people that just attend almost every single thing, every single activity over the months. You can look at it in that sense. You could look at it over here by group, which gives you the most granular detail for, it's basically the same one you saw before, but it's grouped according to the group. And then you could select what year, and you can sort backwards, forwards on this, you know, this way or that way. That doesn't really matter, but you still have the same abilities to drill down to see who's actually involved in which groups at any given time. And you could filter it even further. Right now I'm looking at 22, but if I just want to see what happened this month, we can do that as well. So it's always alive. It's always going to tell you what's going on, but given how you want to filter it, then I remove this and we're back to the whole of 2022 and the 450. And I just think it's, you know, an exciting thing to be able to have something like this that you can just easily reference. You know, I think my way of looking at it would be thinking of it as reference tools for when you're grant writing, you know, your program narratives for the month end. You know, you are all involved in the success of this network's growth. And I think you all should all feel good about that. You know, there's a lot of good partners, a lot of strong partners have been with us from 2020. That was our baseline when we started capturing this information. And every single month we have new partners. How many? I think it was 3 new organizations and 15 new partners just this month. So it's an exciting time. And with that, I'll stop sharing. I hope I didn't make a mess of it, but oh, and also if people out there, you know, you guys have ideas of other types of metrics you'd like to see that we could build it in for you, just let us know. And I'm giving it back to Sylvia. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. That's such important information. And as we see that this is information that anybody could use here in the Antelope Valley, we will make sure to connect the link with everybody to have access to be able to look at that.
It'll be on the group site.
Okay, yeah, okay, so
That's my carrots to get people to join group site. You know?
we'll have Stephanie put in our group site. Part of group site is that if you're interested, just make sure you put it on the chat. With group site, we'll send an invite for you to join, and then you'll have access to all of these different workbooks that we have on there, on this data. We also have access to other folders from some of the other groups or workshops. You'll find a lot of information, but we will have access to this specific data that Lucy just shared. So if you're interested, put it on the chat, and then Stephanie will send you an invite to group site. Darrell?
Okay. Well, with all of that information being shared, which was an abundance, we're going to continue on because we do have some more from Catalyst, California. You do want to pay attention to this because the information and the data that's going to be shared is phenomenal. I'm going to turn this over to Chris and his team right now.
There's my mute button. Good morning. Thanks everybody for being here this morning. Let me see if I can share my screen properly. One moment. Everyone see that okay? Okay, great. Well, thanks again for being here this morning. We wanted to update you all on the State of the Child work that we're doing. So as you recall, last time we spoke, I think in September, we had a lot of time to hear from you all what kind of data, what kind of things we wanted to look into for the State of the Child. So we've been busy collecting data. So we would like to share some of the first bits of data back with you. And I think if Luce didn't say it, we use her dashboard for some of the data, which is incredible. She shared that last time. She mentioned she's updating it to include, 2021 American Community Survey data. So that dashboard is getting even better. So, please be on the lookout for that dashboard. Today with the data we're sharing, last time we wanted to hear kind of what we wanted to study, what data to collect. Today we want to hear a little more about, we're going to present some data to you. Are these the right types of findings to uplift in our work? Let's see if I can get the next slide. There we go. So we're gonna share some data. We're gonna go into breakout groups, and really in those breakout groups, we want to hear from you. Are these the right findings we want in the State of the Child report, or do we want to dig deeper in some areas? Do we want different types of findings? What context are we missing? So we'll really look forward to hearing from you in breakout groups. And at the end, we brought it up last time. We want to just hear a little bit more about, are there any other folks that you feel like we should interview, folks to bring on the steering committee? And again, the role of the steering committee is to kind of weigh in on these findings and say, decide, are these the right types of findings we want in the report? Are these the kinds of findings we want to lift up for the Antelope Valley about the State of the Child? So if you recall from last time, when we asked, okay, what should we dig into when we're getting into the State of the Child? We heard demographics, especially for populations our current systems aren't serving well. Folks wanted to hear about economics, especially housing, the education system, including academic and non-academic outcomes, and then resources, including availability and access. So we've been collecting a lot of these data. We haven't finished collecting yet. We're not going to present all the data this morning. We're actually going to break it up and present some high level findings today, some high level findings in January. So some key things that are going to be missing today, for instance, is our demographics are really going to only talk about, populations or population overall, the populations that our systems don't currently serve well. We're going to get into more next time. I think in terms of resources, we're going to get more into those next time, getting into kind of mental health, different services available for our kids and kids in schools. So just to note, this isn't all the data, presented today. We're going to get into them more over subsequent days. So, starting off, and this includes some data from, Lewis Wilkerson. When we're looking at the Antelope Valley, area, it's more than, 300,000 people. And if we're putting kind of Lancaster and Palmdale best start communities or geographies together, it's more than 25,000 children. So this is a lot of people and a lot of children. This isn't these aren't small numbers. Area wise, we also know the Antelope Valley is huge, but I think folks may not lift up just how many people and how many children live in the Antelope Valley, especially when they're comparing to other parts of LA. So we did want to compare to other parts of LA. So for instance, these are Lancaster and Palmdale are more populous cities that have more people in them than Pasadena and Pomona, which are two cities you might, hear more about in the news, that kind of thing. So I think, finding number one for demographics is this is a lot of people, a lot of children, a lot of families, and that's something we see as something to uplift. So, again, we're going to go into breakout rooms later. Want to hear what you think of that finding. The second finding, we looked at the real cost measure provided by the United Ways of California, who really put out great reporting with these data. But you can see if we're looking at LA County and the state, and then the kind of two, PUMAs, which are public use microdata areas, kind of census geographies where these data are collected, kind of in and around Lancaster and Palmdale. You can see if we're looking at, what households are kind of below the real cost measure of living, or they're earning less than they're meeting their basic needs. So they're not making enough to pay for things like housing and transportation and food and childcare and kind of things like that. So we're seeing, more, about half or more of folks in kind of the Lancaster Palmdale areas aren't meeting their basic needs. They're earning incomes below meeting their basic needs. And then you can see this will vary by race. So you can see that the Black households not meeting their needs in terms of they're earning lower incomes is almost double the white rate, and similarly Latino is almost double the white rate of households, not earning incomes to cover their basic needs. And then when you look at households with a child under age 6, a young child, for instance, this is getting to 8 and 10 households aren't earning enough to meet their basic needs, and that's a really high number. And so you can see the median adjusted household incomes in the end to see what the incomes are. But for us, this is a big finding. What does it mean if 8 out of 10 families with a child under 6, they're struggling to pay for food or childcare or transportation or things like that? What effects does that have, on the state of the child? So that's kind of finding number 2. We're going to go into breakout groups and want to hear what you all think of that finding. So, finding number 3, when we're looking at housing, this is again from data including by Lewis Wilkerson here. When we're looking at kind of rent burden, and we're calculating by 30% in this case, you can also calculate it by 35% of your income towards housing or different levels. But you're seeing in basically just about all kind of areas, half or more folks are rent burden. They're paying more than, these folks are paying more than they should be for rent. And so, folks also were interested in homelessness. So we looked at it, and, LAHSA, which, folks believe, will undercount homelessness because it's hard to catch everybody in one count on one kind of day or a couple days. But, they're finding kind of almost 2,000, houseless individuals in Antelope Valley cities. And then if you're looking at SPA 1, it jumps up to, over 4,500. So, a houseless population that is more out of the cities than in the cities. And, Tracy showed us a Vice, news video showing that law enforcement is often pushing folks out of the cities into the desert. And, just because they're pushed out in terms of where, they're living doesn't mean they're not coming back into cities and using services, getting water, electricity, because, the desert is the desert. And so that, this rent burden or this housing cost crisis is causing a houselessness crisis. And, if solution is just to push out folks instead of building kind of a caring system, what does that mean for children, especially children who may be houseless, children in rent burden families? So this kind of housing crisis was another finding that we'll want to hear, more about you all about. And resources, as I mentioned earlier, folks were interested in resources and access. This finding here, and we only picked kind of the top 6 zip codes to show on one slide, so not to overwhelm you. But we shared before that the childcare is difficult to find in the Antelope Valley. Among LA service planning areas, it's the hardest to find, or at least people report it's the hardest to find childcare of all the service planning areas in LA. So 4 in 10 parents, are having trouble finding childcare. There's more than 9,000 income eligible preschoolers lacking access to preschool. These rates are even higher for infants and toddlers, 1 to 2 years old. So, what does that mean when we're looking at, 80, 90, 70, 80, 90+% of folks are not getting childcare? That's going to have impacts on educational outcomes. Parents are going to have to, use friends or family care, or stay home themselves and leave the workforce. And so what does that do to the family income if they're staying home? Or on the other hand, they're taking 2 jobs to pay for childcare if the only one is a super expensive, private childcare. So all kinds of things happen when it's difficult to find childcare. So this was another finding we wanted to lift up to you all. And that this gets into the educational outcomes a little bit. So what we found when we're looking at all the districts in the Antelope Valley, and I think this could be, you can read the kind of districts down here in terms of what districts are included. We were calculating high school graduation percent. So it looks like 65 percent of Antelope Valley high schoolers are graduating. This is compared to 84.9% of high schoolers countywide. So that's a roughly 20% drop, 85 to 65 in terms of lower high school graduation in the Antelope Valley. So, is this related to lack of childcare access, other resources access that, districts aren't able to graduate their students? And we're also seeing these graduation rates are going to vary, substantially by race. So you're seeing this kind of Latinx Latino rate is pretty close to the overall rate. The same with the Black rate, but, the Asian, Filipino, 2 or more, and white races are certainly higher. So, also what does it mean if our schools are graduating some racial groups, at higher rates than others? In the case, maybe related, we're not saying it's causing this, but in the case of, Latinx students, 63% of Antelope Valley students are Latinx, but only 17.9% of certificated staff are Latinx. So basically that means there are lots of Latinx students, but not a lot of Latinx teachers. What does that mean for the students, the cultural competency of schools? There's been research done for different racial groups about how, students seeing a teacher of their culture that's like them can often be, more motivating or help them for higher academic achievement. So this is another finding we wanted to uplift to folks. And lastly, folks were interested in justice and safety. So, here we're showing traffic stops in this table by LA Sheriff. And so this is countywide, not specific to Antelope Valley. But if you're seeing, rates by race, there are far higher traffic stop rates for, Black Angelenos than for other races, and doubly so. So what does that mean when law enforcement is stopping Black Angelenos at double the rates of other folks? And as we've done in other research, often for pretextual stops or for things things that are not necessarily related to safety. So we did calculate for Antelope Valley kind of the uses of force or uses of violence on Black civilians, and that's still also higher than the population overall. So police are stopping Black Angelenos more. They're using more violence on Antelope Valley Black residents in particular. So we know that inappropriate policing, whether it being traffic stops or uses of force, that's going to have an impact on families with children 0 to 5. If there's a parent in jail or prison or on probation or otherwise, that's going to limit their ability to provide for and be with their families. So, I think as early child advocates, we have to think about what our systems, including law enforcement, what their impacts are having on families. So that's a last finding I will present, and then we're going to go to the Jamboard breakout groups and Jamboard in a sec that Alex is going to lead, including answering these questions. But since we have time this morning, did folks have any questions about what I presented before diving in?
Chris, I'm reading in the chat box. Jean had a question as to whether we're getting demographics on foster youth in Antelope Valley.
Oh, yes, good question. And thanks for looking in the chat. I haven't looked at it. So yes, that's some of the data we've collected on those populations I mentioned at the front of the presentation that we weren't presenting today. So some of the populations we'll present next time are things like foster youth, students, different types of student groups, student homeless, students with disabilities, low income students. So yes, lots of other populations and demographics that I didn't present today. I was kind of getting at some kind of larger findings that I was interested in hearing folks' feedback on.
Yes, and Sylvia, thank you for sharing that. The final report will be shared with the community in June. So there's still some reports that we will be sharing and getting you that information. We've got a lot of positive feedback, Chris, in the chat box. Very appreciative of this information and wanting to know more.
Okay, thanks. So if no other questions, looking forward to hearing from you folks on terms of what you think of these findings so far, what further to dig into, but I'll pass it to Alex to actually lead this part.
Great, thank you, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, we're going to kind of take this time to reflect on those findings that we have so far. Our questions are generally in the scope of, are we on the right track? Are there kind of things related to this that we want to dig deeper into? So what are the parts that resonated? What parts didn't really? Is there anything that's really missing? So we have a Jamboard link we're going to share with you. We're going to take about 15 minutes. There's 2 slides per group. Your group number will be determined based on your breakout room number. So for example, if you're in breakout room number 1, you're going to be in group 1, and we have about 15 minutes, and we'll go ahead and demo too how to add how to add a note to the slide. And each group, so remember, so you have 2 slides. It'll be like 2 questions each on each slide. Halfway through, please just transition to your second set of slides. Yeah, Chris, do you mind switching over to the Jamboard and we can demo that?
Sure, 1 sec. There you go.
Yeah, and you can just select one person too if you'd like to just post the comments of everyone in the group, and then we'll have an all group share out at the end. That'll be like another 10 minutes. So please think about when you're in a group who would like to maybe be the note taker, or where everyone can do it, and then definitely someone per group to share back afterwards.
Would you like me to open the groups now, Alex?
Not yet. I wanted to demo really quick how to post a note for people who haven't used Jamboard before. I think I can go ahead and do that too. Chris, is it okay if I share my screen really quick?
Of course.
Yes, okay. Okay, so here's our Jamboard. So here is group 1, question 1. So as I mentioned, that's just kind of our general questions: what resonates, what doesn't match your experience. Second set was what should we dig deeper into? Oh, sorry. Okay, how about now? Can you see my screen?
There it is.
Great. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's this first set per group, second set per group. So about 7 minutes in, please go from your first slide to your second slide. To post, what you can do on this side, you're going to see a side of options. Go to the one that looks like a sticky note, and it'll pop up there, and you can just type a note there. You can choose the color that you want, save, and it'll pop up there. And then you can just move it to not be in the way. Cool. If there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and open up the breakout room, Stephanie.
Sounds good. I'm going to open them up right now.
Then
Yeah.
you know, jumped up to 70%. Then you got Antelope Valley, LA County, you know, Antelope Valley and Palmdale in the 80s. So you could see, you know, the closer you go into our areas, the higher the percentages of the struggle. You know,
Yeah.
and California's got some good places because overall, they're not doing nearly as bad as, you know, this LA County is.
Mm.
Everybody's back.
Okay, wow. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad that you are able to get back and rejoin us. I know there were some great discussions going on in those breakout rooms. So I'm going to turn this over to Chris and Alex to see where we proceed from this point.
Yeah, so next we're gonna have just sharing back from like the smaller groups. If we could have one volunteer per group to just share back. Chris, do you mind sharing our screen again for that discussion slide? Okay, I'm hearing that there was 4 groups in total. Okay. And can we please start with group 1? So what were some of the highlights from your discussion?
I can go in case others don't, but I can't believe that was 15 minutes. That just flew by. But one of the things we heard that Sean lifted up that was an important point was how representation matters. I think it connects to it might have connected to the kind of teacher-student representation stat that I posted, where there's 63% Latinx students, but less than 20% of certificated staff. So basically Latinx students really aren't seeing teachers and administrators of their race as the ethnicity as they should be. And Sean really shared just how it mattered to see, to see folks go through high school to get jobs, to, or to college or elsewhere, to see that, for them to see their positive futures moving through the system and beyond, the education system and beyond. So thought that was a key point.
Thank you. And can I please have somebody from group 2? Okay, I'm reading now that there was 3 groups only. Okay, thank you.
Hi, from group 2, we were overall impressed with the stats and how much they were about the Antelope Valley compared to what we normally get, which is LA specific. Something specific to the Antelope Valley that we felt were very important to dig deeper were the extreme weather conditions and the quality of housing being so different from the rest of LA. We also focused on that arrest stat. It seems like everybody was really shocked by that, but we wanted to know about actionable items. Like, are there things that we would love to dig deeper into that to see what the actionable items are? Is it a matter of because they don't have registration, they don't have insurance? Could there be things we do to help reduce that other than just saying it's discrimination? And thanks to Policy Leadership Academy, I'm nuts next year looking for things that we can tackle. And one of them is the rent burden. We would love to take this to the Homeless Steering Committee for policy change next year. We believe, for so many reasons, that this group is aware that the homeless stats in the Antelope Valley are extremely underrepresented.
Great, thank you so much, Donna. May I please have someone from group 3?
I can go ahead and share for our group. So for group number 3, we also were running out of time. There was a lot of really great kind of sticky notes up there. So I encourage you all to look at slides 5 and 6. But I'll just highlight a few. One of the things that Carla kind of highlighted and mentioned and talked about was about childcare and seeing those stats and how that really resonated with her experience as well of just what's going on with the Antelope Valley region. I think it's also important to highlight a stat like that has to do with really young children, but also something that can truly be a ripple effect into so many of the other indicators and the data that we're seeing as well. So I thought it was a really well taken point. Another part that resonated as well with Jean that she mentioned was how the data was inclusive of the cities of Lancaster and Palmdale, but also cities outside of that region as well, and just kind of covering, you know, a fuller kind of breadth of what makes up the Antelope Valley region. And yeah, I think that's very true. It's nice to kind of get that balance of being able to see how things kind of look across a wider area, so that you can kind of see the disparities across and be able to see kind of the fuller picture. And then I would say for question number 2, which is like areas to dig deeper in, one of the things that was again highlighted by Carla that I thought was interesting as well, was talking about how some of this information is going to be made available to the community, and just, you know, how this information can be out there, but how is it going to be accessible to everybody so that it can be useful in their advocacy campaign works, and then also be able to, you know, hopefully the more voices that are out there aware of what's going on, that also can in the future redirect more resources in. So I thought that was a really good point as well. Another thing that was also talked a little bit about in our group was how there's data on kind of, sometimes there's like these indicators can have these like thresholds that it's setting. And so, you know, you'll see like who's below the poverty line, but can we also be looking at data that's looking at, well, who's, you know, just above the poverty line, right? So there's this poverty line that's set by the federal government, like who's just above that? And, you know, can we get a better understanding of also the individuals and families that are kind of on the edge of, you know, potentially being in a more vulnerable position. So yeah, those were some of the highlights from our group.
I see Sean has raised his hand. Sean, did you have something that contribute to add to that? Or have questions?
Yes, really quickly. We had a technical difficulty in my group, so I didn't get this, but something that I think is important to remember, is there anything missing? When we talk about data, and when we look at data, and disproportionalities or proportionalities, in order to do action, especially when it comes to race, right? This percentage of Latinos, this percentage of Black people, this percentage of white people, X, Y, and Z. I think it's important for all of us to remember, especially in this community and the communities across the country, is that there's an increasing population of children who might be Latino but have Black parents or a Black parent, Black parents or white parents who might have Black children or Latino children, and vice versa. And so when we look at those numbers, we're not just talking about a Black family, but there's mixed families out there, and that is important as well. And so when we do something for a disproportionality among Latino people, we have to understand that that's going to impact a Black family as well. When we do something that is disproportionality about Black people, that is going to impact the Latino family as well, and vice versa across the board. So when we talk about what's missing, every time I look at data, I notice those things.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, I think that's a really good point too. In the chat, was there anyone else who had any questions? Let me just take a look really quickly. So Jean, I did see you had a question about, or I think it was Ruth who had a question about information being shared. So we are going to produce a report. I think Tracy said that, or Sylvia said that. We're going to have this all out in a report come June next year. So it'll be that, and then also other things kind of more disaggregated. Great. Okay, so we're going to go on to our next portion, kind of more into the logistics of kind of things going forward. Chris, do you mind going on to the next slide? Great. So one part of the State of the Child report is to have more of that qualitative data. So we kind of went through some of the more quantitative, but as we talked about, there are some gaps. There are some things that are not really well represented just by the raw numbers. So it's really important to have interviews to have more of that qualitative perspective. So for example, I believe it was the Long Beach report. So when we talked about early childhood education, you know, we had the raw stats there of just like, okay, how much is accessible, but it's also important to have that perspective. So for example, we talked to a service provider who told us like what was it, who kind of gave us more context about like what it was like to be a service provider during the height of the pandemic when there was so much need, but at the same time they weren't considered essential workers. So childcare providers not considered essential workers. So how much like support they really needed, but we're not getting. I'm going to have a survey link put out a bit later, or Stephanie, if you can go ahead and put that in the chat. So it's going to be twofold. One is if you or if you know of anyone who like would be a good resource to be interviewed for any of these topics potentially, who could kind of like give more context about some of these issues. So really the opportunity to dig deep. And we're going to go ahead and kind of do more of these interviews come next year. So around like January to March. Thank you so much, Stephanie. So Stephanie just put that in the chat. We're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. And similarly, so there is a lot of data to kind of go through the report. You know, we still have like limited, you know, real estate. So we want to like really decide, but not really like us. We really want like community members, people who are really like committed to decide what is important, what should we prioritize going into the report. So there's also going to be a steering committee that we will be meeting about the report come next year as well. So please go ahead and click that survey link if you or if you know of other people who would like to potentially be good, like be willing to be in the steering committee come next year. Same timeline. It's going to be about January to March, going through the steering committee meeting and kind of deciding what they want to prioritize for the report, what kind of data, etc. And we'll go ahead and stop for questions as well. So can you go to the last slide, Chris? So in the meantime, while people are doing that, we'll take 5 minutes there. At the same time, we can stop for questions as well. So outside of doing this link, if you have any further, you know, interest in doing steering committee, or if you like lose the link for something or want to be interviewed, you can also contact either Sylvia or Chris. So any questions? Thank you, Ruth. I will put your name down. Thank you. And we'll just take another 4 minutes just to quickly fill out the survey.
Chris, can you drop your email into the email one more time in the chat box, please?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'll share my screen one more time in case Sylvia's wants it as well. Or they want Sylvia's as well.
Great, thank you. Yes, please fill out those surveys if you can. Now would be the best time to do it. Awesome. Do we have any other comments or questions for Alexandria or Chris?
I see a lot of people also resonating with Sean's point. Agreed. Yes. I'm also Black and Hispanic, so I feel like everything's really twofold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have grandchildren that are mixed culture, Hispanic and Black, and so that does affect them. And that is something to keep into consideration as we're taking these surveys and gathering this data. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone for participating, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again in January. But yeah, I guess back to you, Darrell. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
you. Sylvia, did you have anything you wanted to add or share at this moment before we move on? No.
No, I think we're good. Just really thankful for Chris and his team, all the work that they're doing. And I love the input that our community is actually giving to this project as well.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen right now. Give me one moment. So right now, we are going to share with you some of our best start things to come for 2023. We have quite a bit. Our best start regional meeting will take place on the 15th. That is coming up this Thursday. We would invite you to come back, join us. We're going to have a showcase. We're going to highlight what Best Start has been doing for the year of 2022, and it has been a lot, and it's been an exciting year for our Best Start team. We've been loving it. We've been busy, but we've been loving it. And we want to showcase what's been happening here in the Antelope Valley with our partners, our stakeholders, and our community. Our coming up events from Best Start. Now, I'm really going to ask Tracy to come off mic to share because she's been so pivotal in a lot of these that you see, and many of you have participated in these trainings. So Tracy, do you mind coming off mic and kind of sharing what's coming up?
Not at all, happy to do so. We have our trauma-informed masterclass. This will be the second cohort for any of you who are on the call who might have attended the first one. Maybe you missed a couple, maybe you want to attend just because you want to attend and get a more, in-depth masterclass, training, then we would welcome you. I actually just checked the numbers today. We have 168 people signed up. So this is something that I think is so great for our community. It's a chance to really delve into trauma. It's a 10-week session, as you see there on the left. And we're also super, super excited. Thank you, Ruth. Ruth said she recommends this class. We're super excited to be offering a Train the Trainer in June. And so if you do want to attend the Train the Trainer, and we're going to be having details coming up on that one. But if you do, then you do need to attend all 10 of the sessions. So that's our Trauma-Informed Masterclass. Then we've got our Engaging with Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity. Sean just mentioned that. So we're super excited because we've actually invited Danielle Johnson, who is our facilitator, to come back. She actually did a session, again, if you were on that, she did a session from March to August. Very, again, just something that I think our community wants to have. It was very popular. We had about 650 people overall attending throughout the 6 months. So again, this is coming back, and the classes are all different. So again, we've got diversity, inclusion, implicit bias, gender diversity, disability awareness. So a lot of classes are coming up. And then dear to my heart, this is the Policy Leadership Academy. I see a lot of familiar faces. Donna Gaddis mentioned it, Lisa Whitecrow, Lucy, a lot of people who have attended in the past, because this is actually the third cohort and we have a couple of new speakers. So super excited. This one's starting on the 7th. So we will be sharing all of these flyers, so you don't need to write anything down. And all of the links for Eventbrite, they're all embedded onto the flyer. So you just need to click, sign up, and you're good to go, and you'll be getting information on that. So again, we're happy to offer all of these trainings free of charge to our community members. And we're so happy when you attend, and that you get something out of it is a bonus and great for us and for you. So again, any of these seem of an interest to you, we'll be sending them out and you can sign up for them. And we hope to see you in 2023.
Awesome. We've gotten so much great feedback for all of these, the Leadership Academy. So if you know anyone that would be interested, let them know. We're open. Go ahead and go to our Eventbrite, sign up. Luce, I see your hand. Go ahead. Come off mic.
Question for Tracy. The Trauma-Informed Masterclass, you said it had 138 already signed up. Can you give me a little background of
168
of what this consists of what this masterclass consists of?
Sure. So the Trauma-Informed Masterclass, and I'm not sure if we can. Yeah, we can't, because it's. I was going to say we could zoom in, but it's got different classes to delve into trauma. Let me pull up. Can you stop sharing?
I can.
Well, and I'll actually share my screen so you can get a real sense of what we've got here, because it is important. And I definitely want the people of the Antelope Valley, if this is of an interest to you, to sign up, because I think it's that important. So let me just pull up my screen here, and then I'm going to share my screen. And so what we've got here, and I know a lot of people that are attending are, and we've got some here already, we've got, DCFS attending, we've got county workers, but what it is, it delves into trauma and resilience and its impact. So when you look at, and this is what I really like about Shenandoah Chufalo is our, is our facilitator, and she's got such a great background. She was actually in 35 foster homes in her lifetime, in her childhood. So she really has that background of trauma, and it really resonates itself to her classes. And that's why I think people really love her. And so what she talks about is deficit based approach. So what's wrong with you turning into what can support you. And I think that says it so well. So the classes delve into building a trauma-informed framework, adverse and positive childhood experiences. She talks about ACEs. So I'm sure most people on this call are familiar with ACEs. Talks about trauma science. So it really goes into the brain of talking about, you know, what the flight or fight, that we really went into that. I remember a lot. The coaching model, organization, chronic stress. So people that maybe their job is stressing them out. So she talks about that. And then processing tools, structural violence, and race trauma. So she delves into that. And then compassion fatigue. So again, I mean, it's, and we were even talking about it the other day, like if you were to pay, this would probably be maybe, you know, maybe 1,000, 1,500 class. It's 10 sessions, and it's all free because we're offering this to our community to help support. So that I hope that answered a little bit of your question, Lucy. And again, if anybody's of an interest, these are all coming to you. We're going to send them out. But the Trauma Informed Masterclass, it really, it's exciting. And like I said, it goes for 10 sessions. Each session is an hour and a half, and it's on on Wednesdays, the first and the third Wednesday, I believe, or the second and the fourth. I'll have to
No,
check.
I think it's great. I think I've also shared, I came up through foster care a lot too in the old days. And that's why I kind of was looking at it, because, you know, trauma, you know, is a coping mechanism. You know, sometimes the slightest thing will trigger a trauma, and I'll be back to being 8 years old again in a foster home. And, you know, it's kind of coping with that. So, you know, I'm an old lady now. It's how do I manage it? It never really goes away.
No, it's exactly like you said, it's managing it. But thank you for bringing that up, Lucy. And like I said, anybody who's of an interest, and if you took it before, take it again. Like we said, Shen always says it's always great to brush up. And then the train the trainer, which we're super excited about. We don't have details because we're waiting to make sure that, as you might be aware, the COVID cases are going up again. So if depending on if everything's good, then we're definitely looking at June, and we hope that will be the case. And we'll definitely be sending out information as that becomes closer. But if you do want to train the trainer, then you do need to take the 10 sessions. So again, all these are being offered free to you to the Antelope Valley. So we're super excited to be able to offer those to you.
Yeah, to the Antelope Valley and beyond. It's so interesting getting people from overseas that have even enrolled across the country. And we have nothing but positive feedback in the chat box, Tracy. Flora stated all amazing workshops. Keith and Flora said, I love participating in them. And he said all 3 trainings were excellent. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time because we are coming to the conclusion of our meeting today. But just for those who are interested, you can find us online. And here are our websites and group sites and Linktree. This is where you can find out what's going on and stay abreast of what we are doing here in the Antelope Valley. Join our Facebook, like us, and become a part of our community. When you go to our YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us. And you can find all of our information, join our Linktree. So that's it. No, hold on. Did I get everybody? Did I get everything? I think so. Awesome. Blossom. Next. And there we go. Thank you for joining us today. We want you to have a great rest of your day. Thank you to all those who participated and gave us all this wonderful information. We will run with it as a community for the good and the betterment of where we are here in the Antelope Valley. Thank you for sharing. Carla has her hand raised up. Carla, go ahead.
Sorry, I was hoping you wouldn't end the call immediately. I tried to go to the website Best Start AV on the group site, but it says it's by invitation only.
Okay, we're going to send that out who are interested.
You
Stephanie?
can just put your email in the chat and I'll send you an invite after this meeting.
Thank you so much.
Mhm. And for those of you who are interested in joining our link tree, drop your email in the chat for Stephanie. That will help us send you an invite that you can join on our link tree.
Our group site.
Our group site, I'm sorry, our
Yeah.
group site. Our group site. Any more comments before we go? Yeah, all right, cool beans. You all, this is the end of it. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day. It's good seeing your faces. Some of you that I can see your faces, it's good that you joined us. And we'll see you at our